Todd usually monitors our radio, and if the truck takes off, and he may notice that, and he'll call up there and take over the duties of the airport guy. But without that happening, we wouldn't send 3 in those windows without notifying him for sure, because we don't want to, do that. So 2, yes. The only problem is it just causes a lot of operational. It gets a little confusing. Our guys do a pretty good job, and it's a pretty good system. But our goal would be to if we could get those 2 staff to get another guy out there all the time for the airport.
Todd Syrie, airport manager. I can clarify that a little bit. In a life safety situation like that, a house fire, if he has to send 3, dispatch will get a hold of me no matter what. So even if I don't hear the call come in, they'll automatically call me. The worst case scenario is the plane waits to take off or circles to land until we backfill that station. So that's how that situation works for the FAA.
Councilman Why?
Chief, with all the training and certification that the department has, do you guys train smaller communities, or do you have that ability to train other departments?
Yes, we have a lot of state fire instructors, and so what we do is out at the training center, we do some training. We'll put on some training classes, and the state will also put on some. April 21st, we have the Northeast Fire District training school out there, and I believe we're going to have about 100 firefighters out there, 75 to 100. We're also we have a lot of smaller departments that request training, so we'll set up training for just our department on a certain day, and so I'd say we have about 8 to 10 outside trainings out there a year, as well as also the police department utilizes it quite a bit on SWAT. So with the burn tower on there now and the search house, it's really starting to pick up steam. So,
are those things that you charge for, or that you reimburse? Does the state pay, the government, federal government?
Yeah, so we do have fees out there for the service fees for using it. It's built right into our budget and things like that. But we don't see a lot of revenue from it at this point, but we do want to use it to help pay for utilities and things like that out there. So that's all helping to have it self-supportive as far as the utilities and the cost of running the training center.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Doug. Mm-hmm. Next item is yours too, I think. Item number 4 is authorization for the mayor to enter into a professional services agreement with ImageTrend for billing services at Watertown Fire Rescue.
Thank you. So this is another off our ImageTrend software that we just got on. Obviously, we're looking at moving our fire into ImageTrend as well. We're looking at doing that later on this summer as well. We're working through a few things, but it's just a great software. And we noticed one thing that we've been looking at over the last few years is the possibility of some sort of should we be doing all the billing in-house as we're getting busier and stuff, and the Medicare laws change and things, or should we look at possibly looking at an outsource of this, and what would it cost? So just basically how it works is when our firefighters go out on an EMS call, they do a patient care report, and then when it gets back to the department, then basically billing will audit the report, and they will check it for compliance, making sure everything's filled out properly and in great detail, because how we fill out that report is based on our payment, and as far as making sure we're getting everything accurate. And every time I'll just give you a quick example. If we put on oxygen, we have to specify why we put on oxygen. Okay, and if we increase the oxygen, we have to specify, did that help or not? Those are the things I'm kind of talking about that all have to be in there to be a compliant billing report. So then once that's done, then basically our billing administrator will start the billing process. And right now we don't have. She's doing this manually, and we don't have the software to the bridge software and things like that. So she keeps pretty busy with that. So what this will do, basically for $20 through ImageTrend, which by the way is now the software, EMS software for the whole state of South Dakota. South Dakota just got them on board this year. The very impressive company. So for $20 a claim, which is a billable call, which we had 1,750 billable calls last year. So what they're looking at is $20 for that call. They will pick up this bill and code it with the codes, looking at our report, and basically code it and send out the bill on for about 120 days. They'll send out 3 and 4 different steps. They have a very detailed process for sending us out. And the benefits of that is we don't have to have our billing software. We'll save roughly about $1 to $2 a call on postage and office supplies. We'll save about an hour a call on entering the billing, which we can use towards the compliance end. We will release ourselves from a quite a bit of liability from coding errors or putting the wrong codes in, and concentrate more on that. The other benefits are basically for the finance office. We'll have a great checks and balances system. Right now we don't have that. Basically, we have to send all of our information over daily, and they're kind of going off what we send them over. So they would be able to get on this program daily and look at the check, the account receivables and things off this. So really a really good thing for them. The attorney's office will save a little bit of time as well on that on the process as well. So all in all, I think it's with the benchmarks we have set in the future as we get busier. I'd really like to look at this as an option to see what these folks can do. We have a benchmark in place on our revenue, and we'll watch that to make sure, obviously, that's well protected. It'll give our auditing and billing and accounts a checks and balances system a lot more detail. And we do have the money budgeted. As I said, we've been working with the Fire Advisory Committee and as well as the finance and stuff to look at one of these options. And it's a really good deal because we already have this software, and so it's just a branch off it. And it's I believe it's 60 or 90 days escape if either party doesn't want to move forward after a certain point.
Councilman Roby?
A couple questions. What is the cost of the current billing software? Is that if we paid for that and it's paid for, or is it a monthly cost, or how do you pay?
Yeah, there's an annual cost maintenance fee, and I want to say if we didn't, we would be looking at, I think we're right at $4,000 for that, and then some of the bridge softwares for import and exporting information, so we wouldn't have to manually add it all in. That would be we believe that's around $8,000 to $10,000 for that bridge software.
So basically, you just told me you're going to save money doing this.
Well, I can tell you by the time we save a lot of dollars on our budget, yeah, we close that gap in a hurry.
And the person that does your input now, are they full-time, part-time? Does that position go away, or what happens? Do they go do something else? So
the person that we have do that right now, they'd have other duties within the department, but we would never have to add a second person by any means. And right now they would concentrate more on compliance. So our reports are very sound to reduce the city liabilities even further. The liability is probably the biggest thing that we can really reduce the city's liability by outsourcing this coding and stuff, and let the professional collection folks handle it. We don't have time. We don't have the resources to do follow-ups and check out phone numbers, make phone calls. We send out our letters, and if they call us, we'll help them out. But the other benefit is the billing. Most people like to pay their bills right at City Hall or send it in the mail. That won't change. So basically, when they pay City Hall, they enter it right into this program, and they got full access to it. So,
Councilman Vilhauer?
Doug or Kristen, I know we write off a large amount every month, with like $10,000, $12,000 of uncollectible accounts. Will this help that at all? Just because of efficiencies or anything that slips through the cracks that we might be picking up with this software? Is that just out of our control for the most part?
Well, we do believe it will help. We do believe it will help. It'll pick up some of those that we have some people that really want to set up a payment schedule, and if we can't get a hold of them by mail, and we don't have the resources to do that, this company would for that fee would they use clearinghouses and things to try and get accurate information, and that's all included on this, and so we have talked to a couple companies that are using this ImageTrend billing service, and their revenues did go up. Okay, the only way it can go up is if your write-offs go down. So we're, like I said, we got a good benchmark, and we need to protect that. We understand that, and I think we hope to collect a little bit of that. So,
Councilman Roby?
So the charge they give you is $20 a claim. That's it, or is there a
Yes,
one-time?
that's
so
it.
I mean, if you're doing the math, you're way ahead on this. Am I reading that incorrectly?
well, yes, we're very excited about it. We believe it's a very good deal to try and do. So, and we would never have to add staff to our department at all. And some of the cities that don't do this are adding staff and stuff as they go. And so this is, I think it was a real good deal.
Councilman Albertson?
Did you say that was $20 each claim? Is that what it is?
Yes, $20 a billable call.
Right.
So not every
A billable call means
Yep.
it can be put against insurance. Is that what?
a billable call is when we go out on an ambulance call. If we don't transport, there's no bill, because we don't want people to not call us if they're concerned, or maybe someone else, a friend, is calling to check them out. So unless we do a transport and we actually get a signature, they do not receive a bill. And this company will also, they have an account manager that works with us daily and will provide us training to make sure our reports are accurate and detailed, so they can collect the bill, or with the greatest ease. So,
Councilman Roby?
I'm up for further discussion, but I'll just put a motion on the table for further discussion. So I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second by Albertson. Further discussion?
I do. I have a question. If I, so that $20, you said can you bill the customer that, or can you pass that cost on as a fee to the customer?
well, actually, you can and you can't, because anytime you raise your ambulance, the only way you could do that is raise that ambulance fee up. And Medicare only pays a certain amount, and insurance companies, private pays. If you'd raise your calls up $20, you'd pick up some of that money, but you'd also have more write-offs. So we do watch that very closely, though, Josh, to make sure when Medicare or anything does an increase, that we make sure we're up on that. So.
And then if you do get a partial payment from like an insurance company or Medicaid, Medicare, will they go after then the rest of that, or does it kind of stop there?
Yeah, no, they basically they use these resources. They will look at all your insurance and make sure all the numbers are accurate, and make sure the bill gets to the right insurance claim number and stuff. And so at a certain point, when it comes off the service from those folks, it'll either be come up and set the same way it is now, with you guys approving the write-offs, or they'll come out of the system with, I agree to pay $50 a month or whatever until my bill's paid off. So at that 120 days, everything will have an answer to it. So,
We have a third-party collection agency right now. Is that correct?
we have yes. Once they get the process is, once they get written off as uncollectibles through council, then they'll go to that third-party collection agency for further
And what's their success rate? Any idea?
You know, I don't have great numbers. That once we write it off, it doesn't go into our revenue. It goes into a miscellaneous account with other collectibles and stuff. But I believe I checked back in 2012, and it was like 5%. And like I said, that I don't know what it is in the last year.
Other questions or comments? All right, I'll look for action. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is purchase offer for Lot 34 in the Endre's 3rd Industrial Edition. And I see we have both Chris Shilkin and Michelle Kakacek from Watertown Development Company here. And Matt, you're in receipt of the offer as well, right? So we'll let you kind of take it up with them.
You guys want to kind of give the background a little bit?
Well, we have received a purchase offer on this particular lot. It's one that would be basically the last lot in that development that hasn't been sold to a private party yet. We actually have received a second offer on that as well. That is a very late breaking development. So just kind of giving an opportunity to answer some questions on that.
All right, does anybody have any questions?
Can you disclose the offer?
At this point, since we just got the new offer today, we haven't had the time to really review and put them both into the offer that would go in front of the council. So,
Do you believe it's reasonable?
I believe they're reasonable. Yes, we have some precedent set on these. We've sold, quite a few of these lots before. Lot 31 would have been the most recent one. I believe that was in 2016, perhaps 2016 or 2017.
Shane, can you bring this up so people can see where it is? This is a lot without improved street frontage, and so it's hasn't been there hasn't been a demand for it in the past. It's platted, though. The city platted it, and it would have been the city's responsibility to improve the road. And so somehow that road needs to be improved for a party to be able to build on that land. So we would need to include the provision for how the road will be improved with an agreement. So you can see 26th Street is adjacent to the property, but it is not improved. Councilman Vilhauer?
So is it a fair statement that we can't take any action on this?
No, not as of yet, because the agreements that would come before the council would be the agreements to convey this land to the development company for the sale to one of those two that put those offers in. But there needs to be provisions in there as far as we always want to have like a right of first refusal in there on those lots. Also a understanding about the fact that there's a requirement that they be developed as well with improvements. And this one, because it's in an unimproved area of the park, does, like the mayor said, would be a little different than the previous, because before we had an assessment within the purchase agreement that said you'd be responsible for 50 cents per square foot of those improvements. But since those improvements aren't done on this yet, it has to be worded a little bit differently. So we're still working with Matt on those agreements.
I know that there was a meeting with a few of the parties involved in this a couple of weeks ago, and I know there's some issue as far as time moving forward, as far as one of the prospective owners, and I believe we have one of them in the audience tonight. I mean, is this late-breaking development following things up now, or we're just at a standstill the way it sounds like then?
We just need to get those agreements drafted. So we wanted to make sure, since this is different from the previous agreements, there's not really a way to draft it exactly as it would be worded before, because the assessment would not be the same as it was on those previous agreements.
And is this land subject to is this part of the land that Bob and Joan Endres donated way back in the late 80s, I believe? So is there a stipulation that part of the sales proceeds get remitted to, the community foundation, or where does that go? I forget.
That is correct. $3,000 per acre of the sale price for the land would go toward the Watertown Community Foundation. They have a specific use for that money.
And the purpose for this being on the agenda tonight is just to inform the council that this is coming. Is that correct?
Right, yeah, just to give everybody a heads up that we've had these discussions with both potential purchasers and we've received these offers, and that at the next meeting there will be formal documentation to take action on and in consideration of both of those offers.
Right. We do have a waiver of right to protest assessment for roadway improvements on the west side of the road, and Walmart owns the parcel south of this one, and I don't think it's a recorded agreement, but I think that their agreement stipulates that they'll share in the cost of the road. And I'm not positive about that, but I think that's true. So this is the only one left without some sort of commitment like that. Are there any other questions about this? Councilman Danforth?
On this particular one where that road, it's 26th, I can't see it based on this angle here, but would the expectation be that someday that would continue north to complete a 26th, or would it not be planned for that?
Yes. Could you zoom out, Shane? The road 26th is stubbed in on the north end, and it's platted on the south end, and in between is land outside the city limits, which is not platted, and it's owned by Bob Endres. And so the city did try to nail down how a road would connect those dots, and there wasn't ever an agreement with the owner. And at that time, and when we were going through that, it was about 2006, the owner wanted to have the ability to sell a big chunk and didn't want it bisected with a road. And so that's why we didn't have that in there. But if there were ever a demand to annex and develop that, there would need to be a road somewhere in there. Any other questions?
Is Bob's
Bob Andrews still owns that, I'm quite sure.
that north part?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Anything else? All right, thank you. Is there any old business? Any new business? We have no reason to go into executive session, so I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Solom, second by Roby. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. We'll give the IT guys a couple minutes here to transfer over so that we can move on to Public Works Committee.